Hello everyone, and welcome to the final day of nutrition in menopause. So what I've done, rather than doing a whole kind of lecture for ages, I've created a checklist for you. And in one column, I've done a checklist of what are the things that you need to know. If you're perimenopausal, if maybe you have a cycle, you have a bleed, maybe it's all over the place. Doesn't matter whether you're on hormone therapy or not. If you know you're perimenopausal and you've got symptoms, what are the basics? So it's pretty much what I've already covered in regards to the 30 plants a week, making sure that you're eating enough fiber-rich foods, prebiotic foods, plant estrogen type foods, because they will help to manage any symptom that you've got. There's not one food that's going to manage one specific symptom, because the reason you have those symptoms is largely because estrogen's doing that, and progesterone's also going down. Eating fermented foods every day, because gut health's really important. Information about protein. Protein is really important, including plant proteins. I've got information about reminding you to make sure you eat better foods before meals, and in particular those what we call brassica veggies, the broccoli, the cabbage, the Brussels, the cauliflower. Drinking liver support teas with milk thistle and dandelion. They're all really important things. Actually, doesn't matter whether you're perimenopausal or postmenopause. Mediterranean style diet is really, really important for both perimenopause and postmenopause. And I'm not talking pasta and bread, I'm talking the principles, the idea of it being about whole food. So as 80% of the time you're eating whole grains, you're eating vegetables and fruit and lots of herbs and spices and beans and legumes and nuts and seeds and light proteins, your eggs, chickens and your fish and your lean meats and lots of that olive oil. That's really what the Mediterranean diet is. It's about those whole foods. If we can reduce the amount of those ultra processed foods, then actually that can make a massive difference to reducing our symptoms, the frequency, the severity. It makes a massive difference going into postmenopause. So that's why the Mediterranean diet's so easy and has such good research around it. It's not a challenging diet. You're not restricting anything, but you're just increasing the amount of good foods that you eat. I've talked about reducing or avoiding alcohol if you're in perimenopause, because alcohol does exacerbate that hormone imbalance. It can be behind lots of different symptoms, hot flushes, night sweats, sore joints. It can be mood, brain fog, mood, all of that. So if you are really experiencing symptoms, I highly recommend you try non-alcoholic drinks. I know it's not awesome, but actually it can make a massive difference. If you're experiencing hot flushes, then consider avoiding coffee, because that can drive that. Alcohol again, red meat, because red meat takes a lot of energy to digest. We create heat when we digest. So if you're having something that takes a lot of energy to digest, you're going to create more heat. So just for a small period of time, it might be just remove red meat and focus on the white meats and the fish and see if that makes any difference. Try and reduce the amount of hot, heavy food you have. Have lighter meals. Think about the kind of food you have in summer. Light salads and steamed vegetables and light fruits, summer fruits. That might be easier for you because you'll produce less heat when you're digesting that. Again, plant estrogen is really important for those hot flushes and sore joints. Fish and fish oils can be important if you're getting sore joints, if you're getting sore breasts. Iodine can be really important, so you can get that from fish and seaweeds, not from supplements. Don't do that, get it from food. If you're perimenopause, if you still bleed, then you need a lot of iron, so you need about 18 milligrams of iron. So make sure that you're eating either meat or seafood or legumes and green leafy veggies, dried fruit. All of those have iron in, so make sure you get a good amount of iron every day and get that checked. If you're tired or you're really struggling with your energy or your mood, or you feel like your immunity's tanked, go and get checked to see if you're taking enough iron in your diet and whether you need some kind of support. Don't drink tea when you're having your meals either, because that can actually stop you absorbing your iron. But you need about 1,000 milligrams of calcium every day, or you might consider a supplement if you think that you're not getting enough. So you can get that from your seeds, cheese, yogurt, whey protein, Milk, if you can tolerate milk. Tinned fish with bones like the sardines and tinned salmon. Beans, lentils, tofu if only. Tofu and edamame beans are rich in calcium. Almonds are a really good source of nuts that contain a lot of almonds. Leafy greens again. Broccoli is a really good source of calcium. Amaranth, figs, if you like figs, then fresh figs hopefully will come into fig season soon. That's something that you could try as well. Be careful with salt. Sodium is not good for us. It can leach calcium from bones. So perimenopause is about setting up yourself for postmenopause years. So this is a really good time to make sure that you're actually managing your salt, because it really will affect your heart and your bone health as you get older. Increasing your potassium-rich foods, really important for that sodium balance. So again, lots of veggies will contain potassium. Potatoes are a really good source of potassium, especially the skin, bananas. So again, don't be scared of fruit and potatoes. Get their whole foods, get them in your diet. There was a really interesting study that showed that a diet, Mediterranean type diet, strong in those oily fish, fresh legumes and beans, lentils, and green leafy veggies, foliage, can really help to ease the symptoms of natural menopause as we move into it. B6 might be able to help with some PMS type symptoms, whether that's mood or your energy or bloating. If it's that kind of, always seems to happen around your period. When you're kind of in perimenopause, it's almost like you're in that PMS time continuously. Then have a play with B6. I think it's about, what is it, 1.3, I think 1.3 grams that you need every day if you're getting a supplement, making sure that I think it's 1.3. I can't remember at the top of my head. That wasn't very good, was it? I can't remember. I'll have a think. So I think you can get it in supplemental form. You can also get it as part of a vitamin B complex, where there's the B9s, your B12s, your B1, 2, 3. There's all these different Bs. And that can help with digestion, with energy, with stress, with mood. So get a B complex, particularly if you're going through a really stressful time at the moment. It might be that that could be quite helpful for you. The other thing is magnesium. So magnesium can be really beneficial as well. That can help with relaxation, with sleep. Really important for energy as well. So that might be, again, you can get that from plant foods as well. Chocolate has quite a bit of magnesium in, so that can be, and B6, so you can have your chocolate now and again, particularly leading up to your period. That's a good time to have chocolate. So that's something to also consider. 1.3, that was it. 1.3 milligrams is what you need if you are perimenopausal, if you still bleed. And if you're postmenopausal, it goes up to 1.5. There you go. See, menopause brain. What else do I need to say? Protein is also very, very important. I think I talked about that before. You need to make sure you're having a good amount of protein, because protein is the building block for everything. So between 90 to 120 grams a day. Eat according to your cycle, like I've kind of hinted about. As I said, I talked about this, I think it was last year. So think about the seasons, your cycle. If you're still cycling, you still bleed and you still ovulate, and you're not on hormone therapy or contraception, then use your cycle to guide you. So the first half of your cycle is almost like spring and summer. So your energy is going up. So again, that's why, again, you fast at the first part of your cycle. So you can have those are kind of lighter foods and fast then. And in the second half of your cycle, that PMS typical time, the week leading up to your period, that's when you stop your fast and actually you start to have more dense, nourishing type foods, just like you would in autumn and winter. So your root veggies, those really lovely natural carbohydrates. So it's not the time to be eating the muffins and the cakes, but it's when you start looking at the carrots and the potatoes and start having those more natural carbohydrates that are a little bit more full of glucose, that are a little bit more nourishing, and it's that comfort food. So eat according to your cycle, because that can also help to manage those hormones. And as I said yesterday, fast first day of your bleed and stop the week before your period, and see if that makes any difference. Now with postmenopause, a lot of that's exactly the same. The 30 plants a week, will give you the prebiotics, the fiber, all of those things that you need for a healthy gut. It's just as important when you're post-menopause. Eating the fermented foods, again, really, really important post-menopause. Eating plant estrogen foods is also really important post-menopause. It helps to make sure that your body's producing, not even producing, but just like managing the fact that your body might produce the wrong kind of estrogen, and therefore it helps to balance that out because of the way it works with the cells. Protein becomes even more important post-menopause. So we've still got that 90 to 120 grams of protein a day, but you'll probably kind of focus on maybe just a little bit more, because it's really important. We're not as efficient at making protein. So we eat protein, it gets broken down, a bit like Lego, all into its Lego blocks, and then our body creates a new Lego construction out of these protein, the amino acids, and creates a new protein. And we become less efficient at that as we get older. So that is why eating more protein when you're in post-menopause, when you no longer bleed and you're not cycling, that's when it's really important. And that can also help us to prevent muscle wasting. It's a really important part of our skin, our bones, everything. We're made up of protein. Our brain, the chemicals in our brain is made of protein. So protein is really, really important. So that doesn't mean you go nuts, but just make sure that you are absolutely eating protein at every meal and snack, and that you are getting between 90 to 120 grams. Sodium, again, is really, really important. So when you're post-menopause, you are more at risk of heart disease and osteoporosis and stroke and diabetes, obesity. So that's why it's really important that you get your salt balance right. So 2,000 milligrams of salt a day is the max. You don't want to not have salt at all, because that's not great for you either. But you don't need to necessarily be cooking with salt or adding salt at the table. A lot of the foods and the herbs particularly already have sodium in. So just be careful with, it's the added salt that's the problem. If you're cooking, there may be a pinch, and then you might use something like the kelp salt, the iodized salt, but just to give it flavour. But you don't need to be adding salt at the table if you're going to cook with a little bit of salt. Use herbs and spices instead to give flavour, or a little bit of tamari instead. Think of other ways, bit of seaweed. Think of other ways of getting that sodium in without it being necessarily a salt grinder. So be really careful, because it becomes very important as you get into that post-menopause time, because again, salt leaches calcium from the bones. And if you've already not got really strong bones, it's going to make it worse. So salt's really important. And again, counterbalancing that with lots of potassium-rich foods, which is your veggies, your potatoes, your bananas. Really important post-menopause. Mediterranean-style diet, again, very important post-menopause, like I talked about. There's a really interesting article that showed it was beneficial for the prevention of cardiovascular, which heart and blood vessels, and stroke, osteoporosis, obesity, diabetes. All of the things we're at risk of, the Mediterranean diet has been shown to help prevent. So that's why it's so important. Be careful with alcohol as well. So again, it's a time to either reduce or even consider avoiding or having it as a treat now and again, because if you're having a lot of alcohol post-menopause, it can actually convert other hormones into the not so good form of estrogen. That's not great for us. So be careful again with alcohol. Alcohol is a treat now and again, but if you feel like it really doesn't serve you, you're better off without it and trying non-alcoholic drinks. I hate saying that, it's terrible, but it's worth considering if you think that maybe you're having too much. I tend to have alcohol at the weekend as a treat, and that's it. I've really cut back on how much I have, because it really doesn't make me feel great. So it's a treat. So just know that it can actually impact your hormone balance and the type of estrogen your body makes when you're post-menopause. Really interesting studies specifically on brassicas. So your brassicas are your broccoli, your Brussels sprouts, your cauliflower, cabbage, particularly for postmenopausal women. And that's because when estrogen, remember I said in our liver, estrogen's broken down like Mr. Potato Head, that in between the red room and the blue room, it's another type of Mr. Potato Head. So it's the breakdown product of estrogen. And some breakdown products of estrogen are not great. And they are the ones that have been linked to cancers and all sorts of horrible symptoms that we get from excess estrogen. So there's a really interesting study, and I've put the link in the checklist, that shows that having those brassica vegetables can actually stop the conversion of this particular estrogen breakdown product that's not great for us, and make sure that it goes down a different pathway, and so the breakdown product is actually more beneficial for us. And only brassicas do that, and that's because of the compounds in brassicas work in the liver with that detoxification. So make sure you're having your broccoli and your cauliflower and your Brussels as often as you can. It's really important, really, for postmenopause, even more important. Your iron needs are less. So it's about 80 milligrams when before you lose your period. After, when you have no more periods, you only need 8 milligrams because you're not bleeding anymore. So your iron needs aren't as much. So you won't need as much, say, red meat. If you're a red meat eater, you could actually better off having more of a plant-based diet post-menopause because you don't have those iron needs. Calcium increases, so your need for a calcium increases post-menopause. So you need another 300 milligrams on top of what you would have had pre-menopause. So you need 1,300 milligrams in total. So again, you might consider supplementation if you don't feel like you're getting enough from your diet. Other minerals that are really important for strong bones is your vitamin D. There is some research suggesting it might be worth considering supplementing with vitamin D. You can get a test to see what your what your levels are like. If not, you can get a supplement. Vitamin K, selenium, magnesium, all really important for strong bones, and have been linked to kind of that better bone density. So it's really important that you take that seriously. And I've talked about sodium, and so just being really careful about your diet. This is a really good opportunity. I mean, the whole perimenopause is a window of opportunity, and post-menopause, that's your time to look after yourself. If you eat a diet that is largely whole food based, 80% whole food based, and if you can reduce the amount of ultra processed food that you eat, then you reduce the risk of chronic disease quite substantially. So that's why nutrition is so important. It can make such a difference to the symptoms you have in perimenopause, symptoms you can have postmenopause, but also, even more important, your long-term health. Now, I've obviously just focused on nutrition. On top of that, exercise is obviously really important for bone health and heart health and all of those things. It's a natural antidepressant. There isn't anything that exercise isn't good for. So you should move your body in some way, whatever that looks like for you. Please don't be sedentary. Please move. Being sedentary is as bad as smoking a cigarette. So with all of these tips, doesn't matter what stage you're in, moving your body every day is really important. Sleeping as much as you can. If you can't sleep, then resting, finding times to rest. Meditation has been shown to be as beneficial sometimes as a good night's sleep. So if you're struggling with sleep, look at how you can maybe bring meditation in. Some of the repair that you get in sleep can happen when you meditate. Finding ways to reduce, minimize the effects of stress. Oh my God, that's so important. I've talked to you before about how stress can really impact our hormones. Doesn't matter what stage you're at. Finding a way to manage your stress is huge. Having time for fun. Look at what you can do that's just fun, that makes you smile, and do that every day. And also finding time for growth. I think growth is really important, whatever that looks like for you. It means that you're moving, you're not stuck. And putting yourself first. I mean, I could do a whole thing on putting yourself first and having healthy boundaries, because that's a key part of health and well-being. It really, really is. So it's not selfish to put yourself first. And this is such an important time in our lives as women to really take care of ourselves. 80% of the time. Okay, so I'm going to put the checklist in the group. You can download it, and then you can focus on whatever you think you could do with, including in your day, including in your week. What do you need to focus on? And then have that as a goal for the next year. What one thing could you do over the next 12 weeks, up until Christmas, 12 weeks after Christmas? Pick one or two things that you think will actually help you. Let me know what you think. Let me know if there's anything there that you thought was a surprise, anything there that you think, yeah, that's what I'm really interested in and I'm going to do. Please ask me questions if you've got any questions, and I really hope this has helped. I've tried not to bombard you. Most of the stuff's the same kind of thing. So I'm hoping that you'll find some things there that are really helpful. So have a fantastic Wednesday evening, and I will see you all soon. And then I think next weekend, that was it, next weekend, because next weekend is the new moon, I think. New moon's I think on Monday, so we're going to do it at the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm going to give you the recipe for a vegetable juice fast for 3 days. We're going to start getting ready for summer, and I'll talk to you a little bit about detoxifying. I hate that word. Lots of things in your life as well, getting ready for the 2024 new year. Thank goodness for that. So I'll talk to you a little bit more about that next week. So have a fantastic rest of the week. And please let me know what you've learned and ask any questions as well. So take care. See you soon.